Hello and welcome to 365 Days of Excelling with Clive. Today we are looking at the index and match lookup functions. So what they do is they work almost similar to the Vlookup function. So where you have an array. So this is my array of data. So what I want to do with this array of data is I want to be able to look up for my raw value here. So this is my first lookup value. And also look up for this value and pick a column I should be using. So for example, for this student number which I'm looking at, I want to be able to determine whether I just want to look at the science mark or I want to look at the biography mark or just the mathematics mark. So depending on which subject I choose here, I should be able to get the value at the bottom here. So if I choose science, I should be able to get this value, and so on and so on. So if I was using a Vlookup function, I would use the Vlookup, and then on the column index, I would then choose a column I want to use depending on the subject. So let me just quickly do a Vlookup formula to just show you how I would have done it with the Vlookup formula. So with the Vlookup formula, I would have said equals Vlookup. Then I select the lookup value, so I want to be able to look up for this student. Then after that, I select the tab of array. Where do I want to find the student? I want to find him in this array. Then after the tab of array, I say column index. Now it's asking me, do I want to look for the first column index? Then I'll just return the student number again. Or do I want to look in the second and return the mark for mathematics or science or biography or history? So let's say I want to, sorry, my table of array, I think it got deleted. All right. So I will then say I want history. So history is in column index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's in column 5. Then it asks me whether I want an exact or an approximate match. So I say false for an exact match. Then I say okay. So it gives me 60, which is basically this value here. So it goes on and look for this student number. Then when it finds it, then it goes to column number 5. But then you can see that this is very manual, the 5. If I want to change and look up for history, for example, here I have my drop-down list. If I change here and be able to do VLOOKUP dynamically, it can be very difficult. Today I'm going to show you the index match. So this is the index match. So don't be intimidated with the formula. All what it is doing here is it's saying we want to find a number using an index. Okay. So we looked at how we can find a number or locate a number using an index 2 days ago. Then we use the match function to say, let's match. So this is basically the column value. I'm setting my column value here. So I'm using the match function to match this student number to the student number in this particular column. In this case, this is the student number here. Then it tells me that it's in row number 4. Then I use the match again to match the column to say which column do I want to pick. Do I want to pick mathematics column number 2 or science column number 3 or biography column number 4? But I want to pick history, which is column number 5. Then it says column number 5. So if I do change any of the variables, for example, if I choose to say I want to use mathematics, it changes automatically the column to say I want to pick up number 2. You can see I'm using the match function here to find where mathematics is lying in my array. So it's lying in column number 2. And if I change the student number likewise, it says I want to pick up student number 7. So if I count from 1 to 7, we can see this is the student I have selected. So it tells me that I want to find the student, and for subject mathematics. So let's just go to a simple index and match function. Because this one is a nested formula, it's quite a bit difficult to understand it. So I will go to a simplified formula. Just get rid of this. Okay. Now this is the simplified index and match formula. What is it doing here? Let me first remove even this. And here I'm using, let me put 7. I'll explain just now why. And 2 here. Okay. Let me open my formula edit window. So here is saying, where do I want to look up for a value? So I want to look up for a value within this array here. So here I'm saying I'm looking for a particular student number. At this point, I'm just specifying exactly. Let me just put here. I'm specifying that it's the student number, it's in row number 7, or the value I'm looking for is in row number 7 and in column number 2. So I go 7 down and 2 to the right, which is here. But then how do I determine that it's in number 7 from the starting point? That's where I use the match function. So look at how we determine 7 and 2, which is exactly the same as these values here. So if I go here, I look at the match function and say, okay, I'm going to look up for a value in N1, which is this student number, and I'm going to look up for it in A1 to A18, so in this array. So I'll look up for my student number, just like we did in the match function. Then I want an exact match, so it gives me that it's in row number 7. Then I do the same using the match function again to say I want to look for the value in N2, which is subject mathematics, and in array A1 to E1, so this array here. Then I'm looking for mathematics, so it's on position number 2. So that's how I get these two things here. Then I can just copy this formula here and put it in my formula to replace the 7 here and the 2 here. So I can then just copy this match function to find my student number, and instead of using a hard-coded 7, I just replace it with the match. And instead of using the hard-coded 2, I just replace it for the match for my column index. So I replace the 2. So that's how I came up with this formula. So this is the index match formula. You can also use it in place of Vlookup. So that's it. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.